I spent $500,000 credits buying every top manufacturer's road going Superbike and maxing it out. Today's video we're having a Superbike showdown. So let's jump in now and see the contestants. So we have the RSV4 factory, Bimota KB998, M1000RR, Panigale V4S, CBR1000RR Fireblade, Ninja ZX10RR, F4RR, V4SV, GSXR1000, and the R1M. The tractor we're going to use for the challenge is Kyalami in South Africa. Now, I took a race modified 1290 Super Duke for a 15 lap race around the circuit on a non-competition manufacturer being KTM, so that there is no discrepancies and one-sidedness towards any manufacturers, and I don't get sued. Also, all the bikes in this are upgraded to their max, so we'll go through the performance point in a second, but every bike is on the same potential that it can be maxed out, equal tires, pretty much the same wheels and everything, so it's as even as I could possibly make it for the video. So then we have 10 bikes plotted here on a little chart in order of manufacturer alphabetical. So we have Aprilia first, Yamaha last. You will notice that there's 10 bikes, 7 of them are 1000cc, and then we have 3 that are actually over. The RSV4, which is the Aprilia, is 1100cc, same with the V4S, which is the Ducati, and then the V4SV is the Norton coming in at 1200cc. On the middle column you will see performance points. The big one to look at is the V4S with a whopping 934, and unfortunately the Bimota, the newest model of the kind of Kawasaki Bimota love affair, is down at 817 unfortunately, so that is the lowest, but not, funnily enough, the lowest power, which gets the Norton in a bit of trouble with a 1200cc bike putting out the least amount of power, so immediately that will be one to look for towards the end of our rankings. The most power comes from the whopping RSV4 with 231 horsepower, and a shout out to the Fireblade, who has lovely stats across the board: 1000cc, 883 in the performance chart, and then 225 horsepower, so that's going to be one that will cover a lot of ground and tick a lot of boxes. So let's jump on track. We're going to start with the lowest performance points and work our way to highest. So with the Bimota, the pros were definitely, from the first few laps, the bike was very nimble. Overall, the front end was really solid. I could really stick the bike into a corner hard and trust the front end would stick. For me, straight away, first bike out, it was very solid. Nothing really major wrong with the bike. And for me, very nimble and a good solid front end, which is a key to any good superbike. And for the cons, it is down on power, which also is a bit unfortunate when it is quite wheelie happy. So the bike wheelies quite a lot, but also doesn't reach the top speeds that other bikes can get. And just overall, it is lacking a bit of horsepower. So in the medium to longer straights, it just loses out a bit of time. Overall, a really enjoyable bike, but probably not going to be the quickest on the timesheets. On the Bimota, I did a 139.947 and reached a top speed of 179 miles per hour. So with the Norton, the pros are it's very stable. It is a heavier bike, which does mean it probably has a bit more weight to throw around, but that does in this case add a bit more stability. It's just really easy to ride. It is slightly lower on power, but that just makes the bike real nice to ride. I didn't have to really override it to get lap time, and it was a pretty nice enjoyable ride. Fortunately for the cons, it is top speed. The bike is quite a bit down on power, even though it has the biggest engine of the 10 bikes. It just does not make the power, and unfortunately the lap time then was way off due to the fact it just does not reach the top end speed. So unfortunately the cons, it's just straight line speed and power. With the Norton, I managed a 140.600 and managed a top speed of only 172 miles per hour. So for pros of the Kawasaki, unfortunately it's green. Simply that's the colour of the bike. The pro of the bike is that it's a green bike. Simple as that. In a serious note though, it is very similar to the Bimota. Of course they are pretty much the same bike. Sounds the same, handles as much, all the same of that. So it has all the positives of the Bimota. Unfortunately, as you'll see in a second, it has a lot more negatives. So the cons, it does have a bit more power, which actually ends up making it harder to go fast on because you have more power to deal with. So the nice handling of the Bimota does not translate to the Kawasaki. The wheelies are really bad in this bike, so even though you have a bit more power, it is actually still harder to even maintain a certain speed. And for some reason, the extra power just probably somehow has put the front end a bit more on risk. I felt like I was having a lot of crashes, as you saw in the clips. Overall with the Kawasaki, I did a 139.782, about 2 tenths faster than the Bimota, and managed a top speed of 180 miles per hour. So with the Aprilia, just overall solid in pretty much all areas. It's a good bike across the board. It's the first bike that probably does everything well. Very powerful, as we saw from the stat sheets at the moment. This is the most powerful Superbike we will be riding today, so that was definitely one of the big drawing points to the Aprilia, is that it has 230 horsepower. So the cons of the Aprilia is that I can feel lazy at points, change direction sometimes can just feel a little lethargic, and overall I just expected more. I expected this Aprilia to be a bit more of a race bike feel to it. I expected to feel a lot more. So the front end isn't much better than, for example, the Bimota. It doesn't have any standout features, as you can see. So for me, I was just a little bit disappointed after getting off this very fast bike. Just nothing stand out about it. On the Aprilia, I managed a 139.478 and did a top speed of 183 miles per hour. So for this Suzuki, overall a really fun bike to ride. I just had a great time with this bike. It was really enjoyable to ride. Did everything pretty well. Not the most powerful bike, but just a solid bike, fun to ride. Like I said, the front end was good rear grip. The anti-wheelie and the electronics were okay. They was kind of pretty good in every area. I didn't have massive issues with this bike. So for the pros, it was just a solid, fun bike to ride. So for the cons, unfortunately, it's just outright speed. Really, it just isn't a massively fast bike. It's probably lacking on corner exit as well as just overall top end as well. So it's not the fastest at the end of the straight. Just lap time, it's just a bit harder to come out of. So if you really are looking for fast laps, Suzuki is not the bike for you. On the Suzuki, I managed a 139.924 and a top speed of 179 miles per hour. The MV Agusta was one of the more enjoyable bikes to ride. The handling was so good. I just really thought it was a surprise bike of the test. I came out feeling that this bike is actually very much underrated. Very good handling. Probably would give this the best handling bike in the pack. And yeah, at the end of the day, this was definitely the surprise package of the day for me. For the cons, I couldn't really pick one, to be honest. Good front end, good rear end, it turns. It's good out of the corner. It's fairly decent in a straight line. So everywhere this bike is strong. Again, maybe lap time probably doesn't compete with the tip-top bikes, but for the performance value points we have, this bike really doesn't have any cons. On the MV Agusta, I managed a 139.731 and a top speed of 180 miles per hour. For the Honda Soul, the bike I was most looking forward to, this bike is very good, to surprise nobody. Front end, very strong. It's powerful and rideable, which is the dream for any rider. If you want to have good power, usually you sacrifice handling. If you have a bike that handles well, the motor for example, you then lose power. And then like the Kawasaki, if you have a bike that handles well, give it a bit more power, it usually doesn't work. Somehow Honda have made a very solid bike here. And the main thing I took from this bike is that the anti-wheelie, which is the same on every bike for me, was very strong. So I kept it at 3 and it was really strong. So again, Honda will be definitely one of the best bikes in this pack. And I was really happy after riding a few laps on this bike. For the cons, unfortunately, there is none. It's not green, was the only thing I could think of as a diehard Kawasaki fan. Really good bike, solid everywhere, really kind of 8 out of 10 across the board. Like I said in the preview, this bike I expected to have high values in every kind of corner, and it did. It came out really strong. It definitely is one of the best bikes in Ryzen 6. On the Honda, I managed a 139.455 and a top speed of 182 miles per hour. So for the Yamaha, the pros were definitely, that was a very nimble bike, handles all the corners very well, change direction, it's quite good, and acceleration is absolutely rapid on this bike. You really feel like you're flying up through the gears and flying out of the corner, which led to a really competitive lap time by the end of the day. For me, the Yamaha is a very solid bike with very few drawbacks. Main cons of the Yamaha definitely came down to the wheelies. The bike unfortunately isn't the most powerful, but yet it still wheelies quite a bit, similar to the Kawasaki, but just overall it is so much better than the Kawasaki, and it's a great bike. Just unfortunately, you will have to put up some wheelies. On the Yamaha, I managed a 139.550 and a top speed of 180 miles per hour. The pros of the M1000RR is that it feels like a race modified bike out of the box. It immediately feels so tight, very nice to ride, and it just has so much power. The ECU works really well along with the wings, so straight away you have a very fast race bike that feels like it should belong on a track. So the only con for me with the BMW was that the front end wasn't amazing. Overall, just felt like there was other bikes in the pack who have a better or more kind of supporting front end. Maybe due to the fact we're going so fast on the BMW that cost us a little bit of front end feeling, but nonetheless, amazing bike, just one small drawback. On the BMW, I did a 1 minute 38.894 and a top speed of 182 miles per hour. Main pros of the V4S is lap time. It was really good over 1 lap. I must say it was the fastest bike I tested out. It was a 10, and straight away from the first lap you could feel it was going to put in a very strong competitive lap time. It is also noteworthy that in 4th, 5th, 6th gear it really just keeps on pulling, where some bikes you feel are just running out of steam. The V4 just keeps pushing forward like you wouldn't believe. Cons for the V4 is actually more than you think. Overall, I didn't really enjoy riding. It just doesn't handle that well. It's just, for me, it's not the best bike to ride. Probably is the best one for actually a lap time, but in terms of actually if I had to race it, I probably wouldn't want this bike. I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't a great one. It felt a bit on the heavy side, so throwing it around this tight and twisty Kyalami circuit just felt a bit lumbersome at points, and the gearing from the factory is really long. I actually feel like I probably could have went quicker if we shortened the gearing, but unfortunately I had banned that from the start of the video, so I couldn't adjust the setting. Overall, really good bike, but for me, just not as fun as I thought it would be to ride. On the Ducati, I did a 138.745 and did a top speed of 183 miles per hour. So that is the test complete, and if we plot all that information onto a leaderboard, this is what we're met with. So from 1st to 10th, we only have a 1.9 second spread of field, which I actually thought would be bigger, to be brutally honest. Coming home in P10, we did expect the Norton to be propping up the bottom of the timing sheets, as it did, just down on power. The Kawasaki, Suzuki and Bimota 789 aren't great bikes overall in terms of lap time. The Suzuki and Bimota, good fun bikes to ride, just lack power. You can see in their lap times, 1.2 off of the Ducati. Kawasaki, a little bit quicker but harder to ride. The MV, very good bike in all areas, just doesn't really have the maybe top end and just a bit of something to compete with the top 3. Yamaha, surprisingly fast. I didn't think it was an amazing bike overall. I did struggle a bit with it, but the lap time does come quite quickly. The Aprilia, probably one of my biggest disappointments. I thought it would be better, but to be fair, good high horsepower, a decent performance rating, and still a pretty fast lap time nonetheless. And the Honda coming in P3, we did say this before we even turned a wheel at Kyalami, that the Honda just looked like a real consistent bike. And then 1st and 2nd, Ducati and BMW, the only bikes to go into the 138s, and they were definitely the quickest bikes. I feel like there's more time in the Ducati if I set it up a bit better, and same with a lot of bikes. I think if I play with settings, there is probably different leaderboards. But anyway guys, that is where we're going to end it for today. If you did enjoy, I don't ask much, but please do like the video. This video took a long time, a lot of number crunching, a lot of testing. I think it was like 5 hours worth of footage to cut down for this one video, so if you could consider dropping a like and even subscribing. I do plan on doing future videos just like this with other classes, so let me know down in the comments which class you'd like to see, whether it be super sport, the race modified bikes, the endurance bikes. Let me know. The comments, or the comment with the most likes, or the class with the most comments, will be chosen for the next video. Anyway guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's video and it has given you some useful information for Ride 6, and I shall see you in the future with another Ride 6 video. Thanks for watching. Slán go full Bukali.